From Chesapeake, Virginia, WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bickaveris.
All right, thank you very much, Joe Daniel. On this beautiful October 4th, we are live as always. Sports Scene is an interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also, sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com, Twitter at Greg Bick, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on the contact section of gjbtv.com. Thank you to our military as well. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, and HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Guest lineup presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Phone line presented by the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition. And the show is presented by HRSMHOF.com, Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. I want to thank Larry Bonko from the Virginia Pilot for the nice feature article yesterday about the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame as well. He will be a guest next week right here on Sports Scene on October the 11th. Well, the postseason, Yankees got a nice win despite a horrible start from their pitcher yesterday. The Redskins are 2-2 after the loss to the Chiefs. Clemson keeps rolling along. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene Weekly, and we love our regulars and newcomers. I want to say a few things before we start the show. Recently, I was in Miami this summer. Of course, hats off to all the people that have survived that hurricane there in Florida. Also, I was in Puerto Rico back in 2002, 14, and 15, and right there in the heart of Puerto Rico's vacation. And, of course, they are getting some power back, but we are keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. Lastly, of course, what happened in Las Vegas this past weekend. Yours truly was staying at the Mandalay Bay last summer, 2016. It's a beautiful hotel, beautiful resort, and, of course, now it is forever tarnished by an idiot that went crazy at that place. All we can do is say keep the memory eternal of those that lost their lives, and we pray for the ones that are hanging on to their lives as well. And always be vigilant. I would say, Joe Daniel, that totally has superseded the news world is what happened in Las Vegas, because no matter where you go, it's almost like your guard is let down at a concert or at the beach or at a restaurant or any public place for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And rightfully so that it's actually consuming all of media, because this is something that's the worst mass shooting in American history. It's horrible. Every victim and families of the victim need their time to mourn and to process everything that's happening. And so, I think it's appropriate that the media is looking into it. And based on what I've seen, they're looking into it very fairly and objectively. And it doesn't seem as though, it doesn't seem as so pushing for an agenda right now.
Yep, it should be front and center, and we're all, whether Republican or Democratic, want the best for the people in Las Vegas. Again, the Mandalay Bay, I stayed there before. Beautiful resort. Unfortunate what happened to the wonderful city of Las Vegas. Stay tuned for our guest after this on Sports Scene.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bickaveris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. You can connect 1650 AM, 92.5 FM, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Congratulations to Little Tokyo Buffet, Hibachi, Noodle Soup Bar, Sushi Bar, and Buffet Bar opening up this week in Hampton at 49 West Mercury Boulevard, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. Congratulations to them. As Joe Daniel and I started the show, the top of the show, our condolences. May the memory be eternal of those that lost their lives in Las Vegas. And let's welcome our featured guest today, Tony McGee, who hosts a TV show in the Mid-Atlantic. You've seen him over the years on Comcast Sportsnet, Home Team Sports, Masson, of course, front and center, former Bears, Patriots, and Redskins. How are you, my friend?
Good, Greg. How you doing?
Good. I guess the news in Vegas has totally superseded sports, business, politics, everything else. Your thoughts on what happened in Vegas?
Oh, such a tragedy, and your heart goes out to everyone involved. And it's just not the individuals that were injured or lost their lives, their family members, and then just the psyche of the individuals there. And for this to be going on in the nation is something that we have to address, something that we have to pray on and continue to try to help to right the wrong that's being done.
Especially at sporting events. I see you at all the Redskins home games that I work for Fox, and of course went to school with your son as well at George Mason. Public sporting events are going to have to be front and center right now for security.
Yes, and I know one thing, when you are at the stadium, you see that they do have armed guards around there, but it's a shame that it's come to that, whereas you cannot even go to an event for enjoyment and not be concerned that there's someone up there trying to injure individuals. So it is something of a concern, but at the same time, you can't live in fear as well. You have to do the best you can do, pray on it, and keep going forward.
Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus, and Tony, we'll start in order with all your former teams. Let's start off with the Bears. They're 1-3, and like anything else, they're always looking for a quarterback.
Yes, they feel like this young man they have right now. They had to get Glenn, I guess the person's name was, they gave him an $18 million guaranteed contract. It was a large contract, and he had quite a few interceptions and not that many touchdowns, so they benched him. And the number one draft choice, as many teams are doing, they're throwing him in there. This will be his first Monday night game, and we'll see how he fares. But at the same time, they probably are not expecting him to win 4 or 5 games, but that's a start in the right direction because they've always been quarterback starved. Even when I was there, we had problems with quarterbacks. So they finally need to get a franchise quarterback, someone that could take them to the next level.
I always liked Vince Evans when he played for the Bears. You remember Vince?
Yes, Vince. And you know what happened to Vince? Remember, he got that staph infection, and he never seemed to come back for them. But he was the first quarterback that can really run for them, that can run and throw. And he did take him to the next level. But once he got that staph infection during the course of a year, I don't know exactly what year it was, seemed like he was never the same after that. And then I think he was at least traded.
Right. The Bears, of course, will take on Minnesota, as Tony mentioned, on Monday night. All right, let's move to your second team, the Patriots, where you played most of your career from 74 to 81. They're 2-2, and surprisingly, like anybody else, they're vulnerable early on in the season, but I wouldn't count them out.
Well, when you can look in the scoring column and you see where they scored about 129 points, but the other team has scored 128, that lets you know that their defense is not standing up right now. They did get rid of some individuals, which I questioned in the offseason. They got rid of a couple of starters, and then they had a couple of starters to retire or leave, and I think that changed the whole personality of their defense. So really that team was built on defense. Belichick, matter of fact, when he first came in the league, he was defensive-minded coach and a coordinator. Then he went to Cleveland, became a head coach. Then he became a coordinator again. So you've always counted on his teams having good defenses. Now, as far as the offense, they had some changes there. But Brady has proven in over the years, if you get to him early, he's not the same Tom Brady. Then as well, and I hate to mention this, he is 40 years old, so he needs the help that he can get. But they have some changing parts right now, and even they cannot overcome that. You've seen them start to have those problems in the past years, even though they've won Super Bowls. The last couple of Super Bowls they won was really by fault. But if you take a look at it, this team right now, the defense is not adequate for what they need, and the offense, losing their best receiver, hurt them a whole lot. And then they lost their big running back from last year. So there's a lot of changes. But one thing you can count on, they will adjust. They will be in the playoffs, and they will be dangerous.
Right. Of course, their defense, like you mentioned, too. And, of course, he needs more help. I mean, he's 40 years old. He can't do this all by himself. That's the one knock on Belichick is he thinks he can just get rid of anybody and just move to the next part. That can't always happen because the NFL is catching up with him.
Well, he feels confident in his system, and he feels like he can plug anyone in, but that is not true. Any good coach will take a system and then build it around his players, not build the players around the system. But Belichick seems to think, which he has done, and he's been very fortunate in the past to do that, to plug individuals into the system, the same type of individuals. But now the game has evolved, as you said, and now you need to, just as Coach Gibbs did, you build a system around what you have and make that both of them successful.
Right, and the Patriots take on a very hot Tampa Bay team just tomorrow, so they don't have much time to turn around. I like the Thursday night games. I know it's not great for the players, but it's something to look forward to on TV at least, right, Tony?
Oh, it's really nice for you to look at it visually, but at the same time, it's very hard on those players. And people say, well, they have 10 days afterward. That's not – when you play 2 games within 4 days and the traumatic thing that your body goes through, it's very, very hard on players, as you said. Now, looking at that game that they're having tomorrow night, that's going to be a very interesting game for the simple aspect that Tampa Bay is coming on, but they're not there yet. And now it depends on how their defense goes and if their running game really goes, and they don't depend on the quarterback to win the game. On the other side of the ledger, if Brady gets to going early and they do not get to him, he could be very dangerous. And in some places, Tampa Bay's defense is very vulnerable to the pass.
We're talking to Tony McGee, of course, known as Mac the Sack, when he played for the Bears, Patriots, and Redskins, of course. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus, been on TV for decades as well. Go ahead and plug your TV show, Tony.
Oh, yeah, we've been on for 33 years, and we're doing a lot of different things. We're on Wednesday nights at 10:30, Friday nights at 10:30, Saturday mornings at 9:30 on Masson, and I'm very happy with them, and we've brought in some new things this year that you need to take a look at. We have one segment where we bring in a lot of exotic animals, and the name of the segment is What's Bugging You, so we get the fans to be able to come on, and they can contact us, and they can tell us what's bugging them in the NFL. We have a fashion moment where we show the fans going in and out. I mean, not the fans, but the players, see if they're dressed for success. And now we have a show up in Pittsburgh that's called Championship Chase. Ty Miller has that. And he calls us every week and sends us what he thinks about the Redskins. And I get on his show and tell him what I think about Pittsburgh. So we have a lot of new things this year, and it's going very well.
I know you love to eat, too, Tomato. You should get like a food segment, too. Like what's the best food around the D.C. area?
Well, you know, we have a Sports by Challenge, and you're exactly right. And we have individuals in there, and what they do is pick the Sunday night game. And part of their contract is they come on the show at least twice during the year, and they have to bring plenty of food. We have some good. We have Outback. We have Hard Times. We have a pub up in Virginia. We have a lot of individuals there, and I tell you, we have a good time with it. And you're right, I do like to eat, but I hope it doesn't show on television.
I kind of call him Uncle Tony because I went to school with his son at George Mason. And one thing about your son and I, we both were at Mason when a lot of the Redskins players were working out there. I mean, front and center, we saw Dexter Manley all the time at George Mason. Now you got Darryl Green right there.
Exactly, Darryl Green, he's there. And Ricky Irvins used to have a workout group there that he did there. And as you know, Brad Edwards is the athletic director, so George Mason has a great time. My son is in Chicago now. He's a personal trainer. I have my second son is a special ed instructor teacher in Maryland, and my daughter is an attorney for FEMA.
Very good, very good. They've been front and center, too, with all the weather issues, too. And, of course, all public safety. Well, let's talk about your last team, the Redskins. You were there from 82 to 84. They're 2-2. They've looked a lot better on offense, except for maybe, the running game has been kind of suspect. People knock their receivers, but to me, they've got the talent in the receivers. Just a matter, it takes a half a dozen games to start meshing with the receivers. Even the Steelers, who played pretty good this year, you saw where they had a blow up against the Ravens and still destroyed the Ravens with their receiver. I don't remember Art Monk and Paul Warfield going crazy when they didn't catch the ball.
Well, that's the new breed of player now, and it's not just catching the ball. As you said, you have an excellent receiver up in New York. I will not mention his name, but he cannot get beyond being caught up in himself and doing things that are not necessary. You have some receivers here, as you said. You let 2,000-yard receivers lead, and you have some receivers that have to fit in. Now, they thought that the young receivers that was here prior would probably develop a little earlier, but what you have to always be cognizant of is those receivers, those young receivers from last year were good because of those 2,000-yard receivers. Now you have 4 to 5 receivers that are all relatively new, and no one is really have to be double-teamed at this time. You have a couple of people dropping passes, but I still can get along with what their receiving core has done. My problem with the game the other night was the mistakes that was made on both sides of the ball, mainly the defense. And I think that's what created the biggest problem for them, because I'm not so sure that the best team won, I think, but the most disciplined team won that game.
Right, like you said about the receiver for the Giants. Yeah, they're 0-4. That shows you it's a total team effort. It takes offense, defense, special teams to win a game, not just one or two players.
Yes, because I thought the Giants were going to be very well. They put a lot of money in their defense, which is not playing that bad. Their running game is suspect, and you'll notice every team that has a suspect running game, they have a problem. And that, as you said, that's part of the worst Redskins' problem right now. Is they have to get that running game. The one game that they had a dominating running game, you see what happened. They played their best game they played in years, so they must get that back. But you take a look at their running game and you look at New York's running game. Now, as far as New York's receivers, Beckham has, and I said I was going to say name, but Beckham has been hurt. But at the same time, his antics.
Right, his antics. And, of course, you got to be mature. This is an adult game. This is not for kids. And, of course, the Redskins have a bye. Then they host the 49ers on Fox at the Eagles. That won't be easy. Then Dallas will be hungry on October 29th, and they have to go to Seattle. So the schedule's not easy. It doesn't matter who you play in the NFL, Tony. You have to be ready. Looking at their schedule is not the greatest schedule, but at the same time, their schedule is the kind that if they play each game at a time, in each portion of the team, offense, defense, special teams perform, they can win those games. But they cannot get ahead of themselves. San Francisco is not a good team, but at the same time, that is the only team they need to worry about. And they also need to eliminate the problems that they have, which is the penalties, which is the plays that they don't need to play. When you have a defensive line that jumps offside 4 times on 3rd and long, you can't have that. You can't have 2 pass interferences on big plays. You can't let the quarterback get outside and make plays when you're supposed to set the edge. Those are the kind of things they can do. You can't hold on the one long running play that you have. You can't have receivers refusing to catch the ball over the middle, short-arming it. These are the few problems that they had. Had they alleviated those problems on Monday night, they would have gone and ran away from Kansas City. When they go these games going forward, they must alleviate the mistakes and the problems. Right. The Redskins are still learning how to win. They don't make the playoffs that often. And, of course, sometimes you give them this generosity. They don't know how to handle it. And, of course, they're still back at 500. The thing is, they could easily be 4-0, but they're just not used to winning. Their defense is a lot better. Has anything surprised you about the team so far? They were going to have to go together. But I knew it was a team that had a tough schedule. And what's surprising is how well they have improved until Monday night from the first game. And I was looking for them to be a little slower, but then they digressed. But as far as mistakes and penalties, that's what they have to alleviate. And if they do that, I can see them winning the division. Because Dallas, as I told everyone last year, Greg, everybody was enamored with how Dallas did, and their quarterback was great. The coordinators are very good. You give them a year to figure going that problem next year. And that's what happened. Think about Kaepernick. When he was out in San Francisco, remember the great year he had and everything? They give him the big contract. People figured him out. Now he's not even in the league. So you have to just take a look at that. So when I look at the Washington Redskins, they have some seasoned people on their team. Offensive line needs to run a little bit better, and the defense stopped making mistakes in this division. Right. Now, you mentioned Kaepernick, of course, talking to Tony McGee, but look at the fallout with all the national anthem, and it wasn't as bad this past week, but, no matter what you believe in, our country is our country. It's not going to change. You still have to respect the past, the present, and the future for all the men and women that have fought for this country, not just the military, but every good citizen of this country. What are your thoughts about that? I think the one mistake that the young man made is when he started the protest, he always indicated it was by social treatment and of a face. He should have made that clear that he was not going against the flag, the military, anything. No, in uncertain terms, he should have made that clear. Now that it has transpired and it is on everybody's mind and people are looking to try to have social change, now it's time. I don't see they have to kneel or anything. The teams are showing and the fans are showing that, okay, we understand we're behind this. So the kneeling time is over. Now it's time for people to do things about it. But as I said, Kaepernick was trying to bring attention. The attention has been bought.
So now it's time to move on from the knees and all of this. It's time now to try to do something about the injustice being felt.
Right, because when you played, you didn't have social media and a whole lot of media. I mean, of course, there was football on TV and everything and radio, but there's so many distractions, and you have to be buttoned up. A lot of these guys, like your former coach Joe Gibbs, would spend the night at the office. You really have to be closed-minded, narrow-focused. If you let the outside world dictate what you do on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, you're never going to win.
Well, that's the way, and as you said, everything has progressed now. And if you think about it, in my day, we didn't even have a full, flavor of ESPN. It came right when I was retired and after that, and that was the first thing that brought the real football, the highlights and everything. Now you're all the way into social media where everything you do or say, it could be, somebody can hear it within minutes. Everything can change. So now I think what it is the way we did it was the best. And I'd like to see it go back to that. But all older players say that. But I just don't like this new thing where no communication. You write something, you say something, you look at something, and then it's out on social media and you do this. And then if it's misunderstood, it's still out there. If it's a good thing, it's still out there. So, no, I like to keep close ranks. I like to be a team. I like whatever helps the team. And one thing about it, as I said, the one thing the cabinet did wrong is he should have indicated and make sure he made that point straight, that he was not protesting the flag of the military. He was protesting the social injustice. The reason I know this, Greg, is I went to the University of Wyoming. It was if you look it up, the Black 14. We were a team that when we played a certain school, we were always mistreated. So we wanted to wear some black armbands just to show how we were mistreated, not by the school, but by the players, by the officials, and everyone else. But once it got to the media said that we were protesting the school, or we were protesting the religion, and we were not. So I can see how you can make a mistake, that you need to make it clear what your protest has been. Once it's been effective, as it is now, it's time to get up off the knees. It's time to start working with individuals and trying to make a change.
Right, because Kaepernick's affected his future earnings and family. He really hasn't affected. People go about life every day. Things change every day. You have to do what's best for you and your family and the team. You can't be, like you said, in a bubble or an island by yourself. If that's the case, he can move to Hawaii. But he's got a lot more talent than a lot of these quarterbacks, and he's not playing football right now. And the thing is, he's not an outspoken verbally guy. He's kind of quiet, and if he doesn't speak out soon, he might never play again. That'll be a real shame.
And you just hit it, Greg. I would love, and it's not fair what's being done to him. I'm going to also make that clear.
Right.
No matter, because everyone has the right to protest it. He was not protesting what is being said, but at the same time, it's time for him to come and say, okay, I've got the attention, and I say now we as a group of people, as Americans, should work together to try to end this social injustice. Rather than not say anything, I'd love to see him come out and say something, because now you got everyone's attention. Everyone is willing to try one way or the other. So now it's time to move forward, not to just stay at that same thing about who's going to get on a knee, who's going to do this or that. Right now it's time to go forward and try to end the social injustice that he was protesting.
Because there's billions of dollars in TV, media, advertising, people trying to pay to go to games. These owners don't want to see it on their company dime during their time. It's like, do what you got to do after 5, but before 5, you're on my dime. And really, with all the publicity it's gotten, it's you're doomed if you say something or you don't. Do you think they should have been better off, Tony, by just talking after the season's over? Because there wouldn't have been as much front and center when it's not the season.
Well, if it hadn't been brought to the forefront a few weeks ago, I don't think it would have been this big of a deal. And I don't agree with the way it was bought, but at the same time, it's done now, and the country is on one side or the other, and I hate that, because I don't think that's what it was intended to be. And then, as you said, the owners are kind of in the middle, because what do? You take away your players' rights, or you try to agree with if they were protesting the flag, how can you get in the middle? And I think they've done a good job with that, with them coming out and locking arms and letting them know we support you, but we also support the flag. But really the thing is, when I said support the flag, it shouldn't even be at that point, because that's not what he was protesting. He was protesting something different. So really the mistake was made when it was not clarified. I'm protesting this. I'm not protesting the flag. I'm not protesting the military. I'm protesting social injustice.
You're exactly right. I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Cubs and Nationals, I love Dusty Baker. I don't know if he's got the team to do it, but the Nationals, they seem to make more excuses in the postseason than the Redskins do. What are your thoughts about the Nationals?
Well, I think about they've been there, and Dusty is a good coach. He's played in the World Series. He's been there. He's coached, and I think if the injuries come around, it'll be an opportunity for him to do well. But at the same time, it's just like anything else. It's like when Buffalo went to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row, they were one of the greatest teams ever, but they all for a Super Bowl. So until you win the big, granted they do have some injuries. They have people coming back, but now it's time for players to stand up. When we won the Super Bowl, we had Art Monk go out right for the Super Bowl. Alvin Garrett came in and did a great job. We had other people go out, and we had other people come in. So with the Nationals, everyone has to step up, and they have to go beyond it. Just making the playoffs is not enough for them to win it all.
Right. Okay. All the best, my friend. Tony McGee, of course, and your great show. Keep up all the good work, and we'll see you at the 49ers game.
You too, Greg. Thanks for having me. Great show as well.
My pleasure. Tony McGee right there, folks. Great legend who played for the Bears, the Patriots, and the Redskins, and, of course, on television as well for decades in the Mid-Atlantic as well. Also want to thank our good friends at Panera Bread right there. Go by and see the great staff at 6255 College Drive in Suffolk and Harborview. Give them a call at 483-3670. Food as it should be. Great soups, sandwiches, salads, breakfast, beverages, bagels, smoothies. Of course, 100% clean. Of course, they deliver. They handle catering as well, and the rapid pickup option. Again, Panera Bread, food as it should be. For more, go to PaneraBread.com and visit the College Drive, Suffolk, Virginia location. Stay tuned for more Sports Scene after this.
Keeping it simple on defense, I'm Dave Johnson with the Washington Wizards Shoot-Around Report. Preparing for a new season and getting the Wizards defense set, head coach Scott Brooks knows.
Just defensively, try to focus on what the league does. And the league is a high pick-and-roll offense, and so we really focused on, guarding pick and rolls more so than we've ever had in the past. There was always, you always different action, dribble handoff or a post up or a pin down. Those are all important, but the majority of the team's offense is 80% pick and rolls.
And for the head coach, that means?
I think we have to continue to be versatile on our defensive coverages because we do have some players that can guard smaller players. There's so many pick and rolls, and a lot of time you get hit and you have to be able to recover. And our bigs, they've done a pretty good job of, switching out on some of the smaller players.
And keep checking back right here for more updates on the Washington Wizards Radio Network.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bick-Averis in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
As well as CP Shuckers, a locals tradition with locations on Shore Drive and Pacific Avenue. People love their prime rib, seafood, and much more. Your NFL headquarters for Thursday night, Sunday, and Monday. Of course, they got NASCAR, Major League Baseball postseason, NHL, NBA, college football. It's all at CP Shuckers. Like both locations on Facebook. Log on to cpshuckers.com. Eat or be eaten at CP Shuckers. Great burgers, pasta, seafood. Chef Leon's always cooking up something good at Shore Drive. Go by and see Matt, Mark, and Leon at CP Shuckers as well. What else is going on in highlights? I want to thank Tony McGee, our first guest, as well. Of course, don't forget gjbtv.com. Click the YouTube link for archive shows and visit all the pages of gjbtv.com, HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com, and, of course, hrsmhof.com for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. All right, save the date each Wednesday from 12 to 1 for Sports Scene, and, of course, all the great websites, like I mentioned, at Greg Bick on Twitter. That's GREGBIC. Interact 24/7. Greg Bick on Twitter. Our next guest is with the Daily Press. He does a lot more as well. Has had Northern Virginia coaching roots. Let's welcome Jim McGrath from the Daily Press. How are you, my friend?
Good, Greg. How you doing?
Very good. First of all, how is your health? And you've overcome a lot.
It's been an interesting year. I could sum this up quickly. I had a tumor in my liver, and in terms of size, what the doctor told me was you could be a candidate for a liver transplant if your tumor is 5 centimeters or less, and yours is 16. So that's what I had worked with to start off. So it's been a trying time. It turned out it was an adenoma. It wasn't cancerous. They took it out. But I'm working my way back, and I'm close to 100%. But
right.
Thanks for asking.
You got to eat right and drink right. That's definitely right. I mean, by water for drinking as well. Of course, we're talking to Jim McGrath. First of all, your thoughts on Vegas. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
No, I haven't. And now it's just horrible. And now you start reading the conflicting reports, and now there was more than one person, and how did this person get all this ammunition and guns and just everything up all up to the 32nd floor, and it's just but just in terms of humanity, I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it. How something like this, how somebody could be capable of something like this, it's just amazing to me.
Talk about what you do with the Daily Press and sports. You have a column, and also you cover prep and college football both. What has surprised you so far?
In terms of high school, I think Gloucester surprised me so far. Really, in the college ranks, nothing's really jumped out at me. I'm happy to see Art Link doing well with CNU so far, getting them off to a 4-1 start. I mean, tough to fill the shoes of Matt Kelchner, who'd been there since the program's inception. To walk in there and have Kelchner still working at the school, and just to come off right out of the gate to a fantastic start. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for their program. That's what I've been happiest seeing on the college ranks around here so far. As far as other things, I have this community sports notebook that comes out in the Daily Press every Wednesday. And we look at everything. A lot of road racing, judo, gymnastics, wrestling, just a whole bunch of stuff. It's really a mixed bag of what's going on the peninsula, and we try to give a good, fair look at everything. Semi-pro football, example, I discovered a women's semi-pro team, the Lady Gators, and have been following them a bit. And also the Crusaders on the men's side. They've started off. They finished their regular season 9-1, and are about to start playoffs. And I'm trying to follow them as much as possible. So really a whole lot going on. It's worth taking a look at every Wednesday. And of course, I'm always looking for submissions. So if you have something, if you have a group that is doing something, please make me aware of it. I'd be happy to write about it.
What's your Twitter handle?
At JF McGrath, McGrath.
One more time?
Oh, JF McGrath.
Very good. Talking to Jim McGrath from the Daily Press. Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us on Sports Scene, 1650 AM, 92.5 FM. And, of course, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer, or via the website as well, 1650theanswer.com. It's 1243. Glad you're with us, talking to Jim McGrath. One thing surprising, of course, Hampton and Phoebus are doing very well. That's not surprising. And, of course, the Southside School is doing very well. The Virginia Beach School is doing good. And, of course, Oscar Smith is always tough. And they've had, as you know, several coaches in the last several years because Bill D passed away. But one thing very interesting, I don't know if your colleagues have talked about it or not, Denby High School is coached by a Newport News City Council person who played college football, Marcellus B2 Harris. Real gentleman, nice guy. But here's the bottom line. They've scored 6 points in 6 games. And, of course, 6 of those points were against Hampton in 1 game. Have you ever seen anything anemic like that before, ever?
The sad part is I have to look back to one of Tracy Harad's Denby teams. It was a team that when the group became seniors, James Brooks and Terrence Riggins and a whole lot of them, they ended up 7-3, but they all had to play and start both ways as freshmen. And then the freshman team freshman playing on the varsity team went 0-10. I think they only scored 1 touchdown all year and gave up about 400-some points. So that's the only example I can think of.
Yeah, really tough, of course, and you saw several high schools do turn it around. But what I don't like about high school football, whether it's either side of the water, is that you can make the postseason with a losing record. That doesn't teach the kids any lessons about life, that you can reward mediocrity. That's not a great rule.
No, not at all. I covered a game a few years ago. It was Pocosin and Lakeland, and Lakeland made the playoffs with a 2-8 record.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was like they were the 16th seed. It's like, how was this allowed to happen? It made no sense to me.
Right. Hampton and Norfolk State seem to be struggling so far.
There are some bright spots. I don't know a lot about Norfolk State, but I have covered a couple of Hampton games. They do. I mean, since Connell Maynard's gotten there, I mean, they've had a couple of 6-5 seasons. Honestly, they'll probably be around there this season. But they do have some bright spots. They have a wide receiver who was averaging, about 28 yards a catch once they started getting him into the rotation. I don't think they have enough firepower to overcome NC A&T or Howard, but I think they could be in contention for third place in the MEAC this year. We'll just have to see what happens over the next week or two. I believe Savannah State is their opponent this Saturday. I think they're going to Georgia for that.
Right. Talking to Jim McGrath in the Daily Press, and Virginia Tech playing very well in football, and their game in November should mean something this year for a change.
I'm happy to see that. I mean, being an old UVA guy, I'm glad to see that the Bronco Mendenhall has turned the corner. I'm starting off 2-10. That had to be devastating for a lot of Wahoo fans. So the fact that they won a few games, and if I'm not mistaken, are 3 games away from bowl contention, actually.
Right.
And that's where they want to be. I don't think UVA aspires to be a 9-10 win team. I think they're happy as long as they're good enough to get in a bowl each year. I mean, just my feeling on it. I mean, if they never play for a national championship, I don't think any head coach they have is going to be on a hot seat. You know, it's just play well, improve the program, do well enough to get in bowls. Hey, if you win more than 8 or 9 games, fantastic. But you know, if you don't, we just don't want to be embarrassed, you know.
Well, that's what George Welsh did. He was always above 500 for the most part of his career. Never nothing fancy, but he led him to a lot of bowls. He had a lot of great NFL players too, of course, and but the attendance—that's the bottom line today. Their attendance, their numbers still are not good.
No, they're not. And I think a small part of it, whether it's high school or college, because I hear this a lot in the high school level. You know, people don't come to Todd State, people don't come to Darling as much as they used to. Well, I mean, the reality is you can sit at home now and you keep up with the games. I mean, there are different outlets. You know, it certainly doesn't beat the experience of being at the game, but you know, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, you know, it's like, well, if I didn't feel like going out to watch a game, I could keep up with it. A lot of the games I cover, I try to keep up at least some running, you know, play-by-play on Twitter, and I do get a lot of response to it, some direct responses, but I can see how many retweets are coming. It's like, you know, there are definitely people following this, and it's not necessarily people out of state. I know covering the Phoebus game, it was Phoebus Lake Taylor the other night, Coach Jeremy Blunt, he has an aunt, Kathy, who she's in, I think it's Missouri, and I mean she's sending notes all through the game, and you know what's going on, and I'm so happy you're letting me know, and it was kind of entertaining for me.
Of course we do the games live at Newport News when we do them. We haven't done them live in a while, but we did do the Bethel Menchville game earlier this year that was live, and we've got Woodside Denby, and of course next week Heritage of Warwick. So people watching online as well, on whether it's YouTube or the website, you know, in addition to the TV viewers, they like it live and they want the feedback. They text us during the game. So you're right, you're able to tweet live or go broadcast live. It makes a big difference, but of course we got to do our jobs first and foremost, right, Jimmy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there has to be some historical account of the game also. So, knock on wood, keeping the newspaper in business. I mean, people can read it online and all that. And newspapers are adjusting to that, as we speak. The fact that a lot of people, especially the under 40 group, are reading most of their news on their phones and their laptops. But, there still has to be some account. There still has to be something to look back on besides retweets as to how certain games went. So I mean, there's still a future for us, Right,
of course. But like you said, do they tell you to hold back before you put the live score up there, or certain things they want to sell newspapers the next day? Is there discussion about that at all?
Nobody's ever had one with me.
Okay.
Either I'm not that far up the food chain, or I'm doing the right thing so far. So I hope it's the latter.
All right, leave us with a good thought before we let you go.
Okay. We have Phoebus Hampton coming up. I was thinking all morning of how I was going to explain to you why Phoebus was going to win by 1. I'm starting to think the other way around. I think that Mike Smith factor might turn it into a 2-point game, and maybe somewhere along the line at 21-19. But I think Hampton's going to take it and win outright and end the regular season 10-0.
I'll put you in the spot. They still have 12 games left. Redskins 2-2. Will they make the postseason?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
there you go.
And it's funny that a loss may have brought out the best in them. Playing an undefeated team on the road in a loud Arrowhead Stadium, and almost pulling out a win. It was encouraging.
Right. I'm just not a big fan of night football, but that's another story. Okay, my friend, all the best to you. Continued health and happiness to you and your family. And Jim McGrath, we will talk to you soon.
All right, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Jim McGrath from the Daily Press. You can read a lot of his stories on dailypress.com, a weekly column on Wednesdays. Also covers college and high school football for the Daily Press. They're doing a lot more of the Virginian Pilot as well. Also want to thank Buffalo Wild Wings. Great appetizers, great lunch menu as well. Of course, tenders and macks, beverages, desserts, the best wings around, boneless, traditional, salads, burgers, wraps, sandwiches. There's something for everyone at Buffalo Wild Wings. All the great signature sauces as well. Go by and see the great staff in Newport News at 12150 Jefferson Avenue. And, of course, watch wall-to-wall sports on TV, especially the NFL and Major League Baseball postseason, college football at Buffalo Wild Wings. Give them a call at 249-3999. Get some food to go. Take out 7 days a week and late night. Of course, right next to Patrick Henry Mall in Newport News. Let's get to what teased me off.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
And, of course, the Kura Japanese Restaurant Sushi Bar. Take out and dine in. Give them a call at 410-4577. At the Walmart Way Crossing in Chesapeake, they deliver via OrderUp.com. Delicious Japanese cuisine as well. All right. Hope you've enjoyed our guests so far. Tony McGee, as well as Jim McGrath. Greg Bicaveras, along with my good buddy Joe Daniel Gutierrez, the producer of the show, every Wednesday from 12 to 1. For more, go to gjbtv.com, hit the YouTube link, and, of course, archives on Twitter and Facebook as well as YouTube, too. Joe Daniel, question of the day presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Do you try to make every effort to vote in every election or just the presidential election?
I try to do the important elections like the gubernatorial election, the presidential election. I know that I should do like primaries, but that's not something that's a super high priority for me. I know that I should be more involved with that. But yeah, I at least try to always do the presidential, and I really make it a high conscious effort to make it to the higher elected ones, like the gubernatorial one coming on.
Well, it's coming up in November. What teased me off is these political ads. Enough of them. I'm tired of them. There's too many political ads on radio and TV.
Yeah, I mean, 'tis the season. you know it's coming up, and they every year seems as though they start running them sooner and sooner and sooner. I mean, there's just no escaping it. There are billboards and signs and so many people's lawns, bumper stickers, and of course, you like you said, the television ads.
Look, I went to high school, college, just like you did too. The whole back to school thing during the summer for these poor kids. August is almost like a back to school month, yet it's still a full month of vacation, still great beach weather. And of course, as soon as September 1st rolls around, you start seeing Halloween and even Christmas stuff up already.
Yeah. End of August, Halloween stuff. You see it. You see. I haven't seen any Christmas stuff or any Thanksgiving stuff. It's definitely the fall stuff. But yeah, Halloween, it's a trend. Every year, it just gets earlier and earlier and earlier.
There's stores that specifically sell just Christmas stuff. It's unbelievable. Are you going to vote in the election in November?
Yes, I will try.
Okay,
yes.
Very good. All right, what else teased me off? When you talk to somebody and they say it and spray it as well.
Yeah. And you have to kind of try to wipe your face and try to clean it without them realizing. Oftentimes they do realize. They're just like, oh, I'm so sorry for spitting when I said that. But you also, sometimes they just don't know, and you kind of either have to sit with their spit on your face or and power through it until they turn away, or you just kind of like, oh yeah, I have to itch my cheek.
And you can't wait to get to the restroom to wash your hands afterwards.
Yeah,
either.
sanitize that
and
real
wash
good.
your face too as well. You know what else teased me off as well? These cumbersome websites that you really have to maneuver. I went on one in DC to find directions. Usually the directions link is pretty much front and center. This was not front and center. Sure, we can get directions on our phone, but I was just curious. A lot of these websites just want you to navigate every page to either see ads or to be stuck on their website for more time so they can tell their bosses, so-and-so in Newport News or Virginia Beach was on our website for 20 minutes.
Yeah, because they couldn't find a way to leave. Yeah, a lot of good businesses hire expensive people to try to make it as user-friendly as possible, and that's super important. Something that I still see is people who have really outdated websites. Like, it looks like a website was still created like back in 95 or something like that. Like, modernize a little bit, you know. Don't just stay with it. Just, we have a website, don't know what it looks like, don't care to update it. You know, try to stay with the times, make it relevant, make it modern, make it user-friendly. That's very important.
Right, we all have to evolve a little bit. Just a program note, of course, Sports Scene every Wednesday, 12 to 1, right here on 1650 AM, 92.5 FM, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen to your phone or your computer. Stratford Today will start next Wednesday, a monthly show, 1 to 2 next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. They seem to have a lot of good information regarding Stratford University. It's not just the sports or anything. They're also going to be talking about community stuff that they're doing, the academics. What did you say? The
activities as well.
Activities as well, yeah. So it sounds like a really good, informative segment. Definitely stay tuned for that.
And people that can go to school there on either the south side or the peninsula. It's always good to go to a school. I've taken a tour. Really, really nice place. What else teased me off? We mentioned saying it and spraying it, but the lack of hand sanitizer around. That's never good. We never grew up with it, but now you see it everywhere.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. I'm personally on the other side of that. Like, I wish there was less hand sanitizer. I think a lot of these people who just sanitize everything, they always seem to be the ones who get sick the most often.
Luckily, I don't.
There's like scientific reason, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but reason as to like why that actually is. But no, just good old warm water, soap. I'm good with that.
A little cold water doesn't hurt either. All right, what else teased me off? Constantly people asking for donations when they're down and out, or the GoFundMe page. God forbid. What did we do before GoFundMe pages?
Yeah,
we worked.
Yeah, we kind of earned it. Yeah, GoFundMe or Kickstarter is another one. I think it's great for like these small products and businesses, but at the same time, I'm not sure about like personal pages. You see that we're just like, yeah, I want to pay for this. Could you help me fund that? And you're relying on strangers, and people pay. I don't understand it. I don't know how they do it, but it happens.
Right. I also want to thank our good friends at Outback Steakhouse at 1255 Fordham Drive. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff. Give them a call at 523-4832. Steak, seafood, pasta, burgers, great dessert, spacious dining room. Watch the NFL and postseason baseball right there at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville, in Virginia Beach at 1255 Fordham Drive. See their website, of course, all over Facebook and Twitter. Great steak and shrimp, all types of great specials at Outback Steakhouse in Virginia Beach, 1255 Fordham Drive. Go there for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Take out food as well. Delicious, consistent Outback Steakhouse. And that is something to be said. Consistency. People like consistent people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone who's reliable. That's a big thing. Just reliability. You'll go way further, I think, in my experience. I've gone further just being reliable than I have with just talent or anything like that. So I think that's very, very important.
All right, good luck to all the baseball postseason teams. Great win by the Yankees as well. What else teased me off? One more thing real quick too, Joe Daniel, is late night television sporting events that start late on the East Coast. They only benefit the West Coast. Football's best Sunday at 1 o'clock or 4:25.
Yeah, UFC is like that too. I'm a big UFC fan, but every UFC fight starts at 10 p.m.
Because when you get on the couch, you tend to drag and want to go to bed.
Yeah, the main event doesn't even start until midnight.
All right, I want to thank our guest, Tony McGee, as well as Jim McGrath. Happy Wednesday to everyone. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Thank you again to Larry Bonko for the nice article in the Pilot Online. You can read it as well. hrsmhof.com, gjbtv.com, and hamptonroadsonlinemall.com. I'm Greg Bicoveris. Happy Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon. The news comes up.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, 92.5 FM W223CT Norfolk. For your daily supply of news and talk, we are The Answer.